Hello and welcome to Lunch with Lee. I'm your host Shane Lee. Today on the show, Justin Harrison, a former Australian rugby union player playing 98 first-class matches for the Brumbies and Waratahs and 34 tests for Australia. He's currently the CEO of the Rugby Union Players Association, and away from rugby, he's a foodie. He has a place in France. He's a very funny man.
Foodie. He's a pregnant snake. I don't know how first class they were. I mean, they were appearances, right? Let's call them 98 appearances in Super Rugby. Whether they're first class or not remains to be seen.
But I put the semi-professional over that. Hey, and Rod Kafer, a former Australian Rugby Union player as well, 89 matches for the Brumbies, 200 first-class matches, 12 tests for Australia. He's currently the head of Prime at One Royal Broking. Away from sport, he's a mad golfer and also a very funny man. Hey, Kafe.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Also a funny man. So where's the panel?
I
Who's
wrote
the
the
panel?
script, mate.
Who's
I
the
wrote it.
panel?
I know, well,
Some sort of TripAdvisor review on funny.
Now, we just caught up down at Gregan's 50th.
Yeah.
And it was somewhere down in Tasmania. I think it was the Bay of Fires.
Yeah.
And it was one of the funny sights for me. I remember going to bed one night and it was camping tents.
Early. Let's get that out.
I did go early second night.
The only person to go to bed at that time, everyone else was still up. So let's get that full disclosure. TNC's down
True
early,
story.
please.
True story.
Mr. Lee.
Yeah. But I did wake up in the middle of the night in this camping site and with all these middle-aged ex-sportsmen. And it was like I was in the Rocky Mountains. It was like snoring. It was like bears were in the darkness.
Yeah. Well, you get an acute understanding of what ex-high-performance athletes do in the transition.
Yes.
They take the same sort of high-performance attitude that they had on the field when they were in the real mix of it, right, in the cauldron of sport. And the best way to apply that high-performance attitude after sport is to really partake in the nocturnal opportunities, right?
And we did.
World-class drinking, world-class backing up, except for you. Which you went early.
I didn't back up on the second day.
Mate, we were. How many times we try and wake you up? 4 or 5?
But you kept coming to my tent, and I think I stuck to my guns.
Mate, it was like trying to get a Canadian polar bear or a Canadian brown bear out of bloody hibernation.
I was down to sleep. Now, we were just talking about off air about injuries and that sort of stuff, but how's the body these days after now all those first-class games between you?
Yeah, it's okay. Look, I'm 6'8". I'm already going to have an accelerated deterioration of various body parts because that's just the way it is, right? Human origami into Qantas flights and folding yourself into taxis.
Yep.
Bad back, all that. But I'm actually not too bad. Shoulder and knee and ankles, usual collision sport injuries.
Yep.
It's getting a bit colder. You start to notice it a bit there, but that's all right. There's nothing that.
And how's your body, Rod?
Brown ales can't help.
Well, you know when you go into it, you know when you take on the career, that you're going to at some point pay the price.
Yeah.
And you do pay the price, as all sports people do. It's actually, when I played the game, when I actually played rugby, the thing that I liked most about the game over time was actually the feeling of pain on a day after the game. I actually liked that feeling because you felt like you'd contributed, you'd actually done something. You'd put your body through a test and the pain was good. The pain not so good now as I'm sitting in my 50s thinking, I wish I didn't have that pain.
Sometime Cave came off matches that we played a little bit sore than he should have because he'd say something that would annoy me during the game. So I'd actually give him a little bit of shooing as well. Like I'd shoot him as well as the opposition back when rucking was allowed. He's like, how have I got these tag marks on my back?
I tell you, you talk about discipline for elite sportsmen, but I had no idea after that weekend, do some research today, that at 15 you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. You didn't take it very seriously that weekend.
You wouldn't know it with the way I managed to
how much sugar's in beer and wine.
Consume alcohol.
Yeah.
I've had some time to really work out how to do it and do it well, Shane. And over the years, I've managed to balance it out reasonably well. But yes, I was, diagnosed as a young man.
That's tough at 15.
Well, it's tough for anyone. Many people have got health challenges for some description or another. I was diagnosed at the age of 15. I had a doctor tell me right at that age that I should give up playing rugby, which is actually the thing that inspired me. And I talk a lot about this to diabetic kids that you can do whatever you like. I had someone tell me that I should give up rugby at that point in time. It was the thing that inspired me to go and try to play for Australia. Was what really drove me, and I managed to keep it all together. I've managed to avoid at this stage, touch wood, any of the sort of long-term complications of diabetes. I've had it for 35 years. Still in reasonable control. Still enjoy a beer.
Yeah, sure.
Just understand how to drink it
Gaff
properly.
was very good at managing it during his career, right? We never really noticed it.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
There was one time after we'd won the final.
No, we'd lost the final.
We'd lost the final 2000.
Drink 97.
And we all know that drinking to forget is far more intense than drinking a victory, right? Because there's whole lots of baggage.
Sure.
You know, we were out one time. Well, this is probably the 7th hour straight. Anyway, we're going hard at it. We're at a club, and the barman, we know the barman. He comes up to me, and I'm on the dance floor cutting some serious maypole shapes, and he says to me, "Good, hey mate, Cave's just been carted off to hospital. He's having a bit of a sugar problem."
Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, mate, wow. What are you drinking?
There was not a moment of care from my best mate.
Well, there was a small amount, but there's the confidence, the faith. Well, about a second, and that's the faith I had in Cave. I just knew that he was going to be all over it, and I was going to probably get in the way. So my job was best to carry on, to keep the lights on.
Someone had to.
Someone had to.
I always hear in rugby that the argument between the forwards and the backs, right, and who's best and who does what. But Georgie Gregan was saying that a number of times the reason why his beautiful shaped head now still looks so good. You used to put your big hand over his head when people try to step on him. Is that true?
Yeah, no, not at all.
He was trying to step on me at that time.
I was too busy sharing Cave. I did feel like I probably took it a bit personally if people were trying to get in the way of my teammates doing their job for a start, which was to win matches, because it was a job then. When it became professional, it became a job immensely enjoyable. But also I took offence when someone was wanting to sort of willfully hurt one of my teammates. Griggs, he's our captain. And let me tell you, if you want to get picked in the team, the captain's the one you look after, right? I worked out earlier that if I throw myself on the sword for Griggs, put myself in harm's way for him, I'm a chance at the selection table every time he gets asked, what do we think about Gould? Is he worth carrying again for another game? And I'm just like, I think I'm in again.
Makes a lot of sense.
It wasn't skill.
But I remember a rugby league player, one of my best mates, Corey Pearson, played for the Dragons and Tigers. And we played against Corey, and I played against Gregan under 17s. And Corey nicknamed Gregan, who was the opening batsman, little guy, he called him Webster. And those who watch their 80s TV. Yeah. And he said to Webster, when you buy yourself a set of men's pads. But years later, we played this charity game, and Gregan's still into his cricket, right? He loves his batting. He got 40. And it was the hottest day on record. We played at Home Bush, about 45 degrees. And Gregan just got out of the hot shower. And Corey had got a duck. He was in the ice bath. And as he got out of the ice bath, Gregan walked out of the shower. Yeah. Corey said, mate, I've spent the ice bath. He said, sure you have, Corey.
Well,
George, man, wasn't he?
George talks about his cricketing days. He loves his cricket, and he was, and as you know, he's a decent cricketer.
Yep.
Talks about that. Has told me that story, independent of you telling me that story. Not about getting out of the showers, but certainly, facing some quick stuff from you guys and being on the back foot a little bit and trying to. He told me about playing against Ricky Ponting once in maybe the 19s.
He did, 79,
Yeah, and Ricky had come and scored 100 on the day, and George said he was fielding at a backward square, and Ricky's jumped on the back foot and just pulled one around the corner. He said he's never feared for his life as that ball was coming for his head. He says never seen a ball hit as hard as that. It's going from, got nowhere near it. And went through for 4, but talks about his cricketing days.
He loves his cricket. He was the Viv Richards of Canberra.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
the little Webster.
A few handy cricketers. We used to play against Brumbies v Raiders. Used to have a cricket charity day.
Yeah.
Mark Bartholomew's was handy. Griggs, David Knox. He was playing for Reading most of the time. But mate,
Phil Waugh, your new CEO, he was a wicketkeeper too, I think.
Was he? Yeah, right. Apparently. Was he good, Gloveman?
well, just on that, how's he going to go as CEO?
Well, it remains to be seen, but look, he's got the right ingredients for what. Well, look, this is opinion now, right?
Okay,
they're like hairstyles. Everyone's got one. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, as well.
It's
you're doing a lot of talking with your hands there, mate. You really don't know what to say.
There's a visual. Well, there's a camera in front of me, so some sort of iPad for those viewers that don't know. I've got my resting angry face on. I'm wearing a very nice shirt too.
Let me just answer this question because the politician over there won't. There's a couple of things the game need. We have an excellent chairman at the moment. Our chairman is operating like an executive chairman. He's almost like the CEO. He's done a fantastic job. He's been our best chairman in rugby for such a long period of time, since probably the late great former chairman of Rugby Australia, which was the AU, David Clark. I think was probably the last one in the late 90s, early 2000s. Hamish has done a fantastic job. He's taken the fight. He's picked an enemy, and that's New Zealand. He's taken the fight to the enemy. He's given us something to rally behind, and he's really revitalised the game. And what he needs in a CEO is probably someone who he's close to, who he can trust, who understands him, and who can execute his vision. So, you know, from that perspective...
Stakeholder engagement, right?
Yeah.
Move people across one side of the room to the other. Give them the battle cry and the war cry. And listen, guys, I've been there before and I know how you feel about this bipartisan imagery of 5 states, and we've got to all have this myopic view of each other. Swing the long bat, Hamish. I've got them. And by the way, these are the next 2 or 3 weeks of press, and this is why we're doing it, and this is where we're going as well. You're spot on, you know.
And I'll tell you, the other thing is, he in some ways, it's like a juxtaposition for Phil Waugh. It's really like he's everything that is wrong with an appointment for CEO, but could be everything that is right for an appointment that's CEO. You know, he's everything wrong because he's from Shaw School. Hamish was from Shaw. You know, it's
the lunatics are on the asylum.
It's very insular, Sydney, Waratah, very that focus, which is going to be a challenge and a criticism that Phil Waugh will face immediately. However, that's his opportunity to grow beyond this tiny little myopic view, and history will judge whether Warry does a great job of that or not. But it's everything that's wrong and potentially everything that could be right because. You know, Phil's a battler. He's a fighter. He's done all the things that a little man in rugby has to do, like he did, and that's battle and play above his weight. He's demonstrated that. You know, we wish him well.
It's not, you know, and also we keep thinking that we need this messiah, right, to right the ship, when actually now all of the member unions and participating Super Rugby clubs. They need to make a decision now. The Players Association as well needs to make a decision to start adding value and solutions instead of reasons to detach from what is a convoluted governance system. Still, federated model still provides you with many opportunities to detach from what is commonality of thought and what is better for the rugby ecosystem, from under sixes all the way up to Wallabies, right? So one person, one chairman is going to swing the bat. One person is going to give you the information and detail and transparency that you need to be reassured that you can see yourself in that story. And that's the part that we're still missing as well, right? That bottom part of decision to say, you know what, I'm going to get on board. I see myself in this picture. The notion of compromise to advance things is always going to have to be any collective bargaining, any agreement has the parties involved walking away with an imperfect agreement, but you advance things. Rugby Australia has developed new levels of inertia in the last little while. Let's hope we start advancing things forward.
Let's hope, because it just seems from 1999 in Australia, where we won the Cricket World Cup, we won the Rugby World Cup, we won netball. I think we're even the world darts champion then. We beat the Bombs.
Should have been.
Yeah.
We're the world champion Prime Minister. Sculling record. Well, we had everything. The trophy cabinet was full.
But it just seems in rugby things went missing quite a bit. And now you're head of the Players Association. How have you found that transition from a player to effectively being head of the Players Union?
Well, on the face of it, things easy, right? I know this. I've seen this movie before. I'm a past player member. I've been a director. Kafe's president. I was a president. You know, you sort of think, how hard is it? But you know, once you start to understand the detail and level of stakeholder engagement required to advance things, and also compromise. Quite often, you know, things that make sense arrive in a different format on the ground because they've been pulled apart by different stakeholders.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, galvanising 200 plus, 215, 20-odd professional athletes from various socioeconomic backgrounds and cultural beliefs and senses of entitlement and or not, different stages of career, professional women's sevens players, semi-professional women's 15s, putting them all together into a framework of a collective bargaining agreement is a real challenge. It's also very exciting because ultimately players are very good problem solvers. You come to recognise they're very good at doing what they're told. If they can see, most players, you will remember, where's the benefit for me first?
Right.
How are you going to make me better?
Yep.
And then how is this going to make the game better that I'm a part of? You know, if you can tell those stories with confidence.
And I think that's the right order too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, which is not selfishness.
No.
You know, there's a big opportunity cost when you decide to sign on the line. And I defy anyone as an 18 or 19-year-old to be offered two scenarios. One scenario is living, making $5 last as long as you can and living from all-you-can-eat night to all-you-can-eat night and struggling through 6 years of university and coming out with an average income of 65 grand.
Yep.
Or 19 will sign you on an average income of 142 grand.
Okay.
This thing called Super Rugby, and you'll be professional. We're going to take you to World Cups, and you're going to be a Wallaby, and we're going to put your name up in lights, and how good's this, and here's a free pair of boots. Mate, is that a hard decision?
Yeah.
But if you say also, but by the way, when you get spat out the other end, not spat out, when you're at the end of your journey, 30 plus maybe, most players retire overseas in the Australian system, you're detached, you've got probably 2.4 kids, you've got a mortgage somewhere, you're off the speed train, and you're into, the 2.4 kids is carnage,
They're hard to deal with, aren't they?
You're probably onboarding a dog as soon as you get back as well, right? Throwing a pet just for shits and giggles. You know, that sort of stuff. But that's where the Players Association comes in. You know, training, education, support services, well-being is a big, hot issue. You know, when we have induction camp for 60 or 70 new athletes every year, the top of the list is not remuneration or stardom or you know, owning many different, you know, houses and all sorts of stuff. It's well-being. It's well-being and mental health services and assurances that they're going to be supported.
Which is really important, I think, yeah.
It's huge.
Kafer, you regarded as like one of the most sort of analytical players, and you went into commentary. So what's your lens now when you watch the rugby game live? Are you still very analytical?
The good thing is I'm coming off a very low base, so it's really easy to be analytical with the people I'm dealing with.
Comic book.
And you
comic
said
book
also,
analysis is what we call.
I know you did introduce just as being quite funny. Honestly, for the last 3 minutes I've been asleep. It was a moment
I'm not here to please you, pal. If I allow myself to your level of humour, no one's got a chance.
Guys.
But so you now work in the in the broking space. So you obviously have an analytical.
Well, look, the game was very analytical to me, only because quickly I recognised that I was not particularly athletic, small, short, fat bloke trying to do his best. Shadow, as you can attest to. And you know the model well. Just trying to battle away.
I'm not sure.
Good shadow.
You got me there.
You throw a good shadow.
And what I realised is that my limitations were actually physical, but they didn't need to be mental about the way the game was played. And I actually spent a fair bit of the latter part of my career in that analytical mode of trying to design how teams I was in would play. And largely, I had two philosophies. One, trying to work out the best way to play. Two, trying to work out a way to play that best suited me as well, so I could keep my position in the team.
Sure,
so that's really what I did.
Yep.
And I'd have devised ways to play that tried to make me look good. I had an influence over the way teams played.
Basically telling everyone else how to design a game plan that made him look good. So everything, I soon realised that everything I was trying to do was a game plan for him to look better.
No, I'd manipulated all these stupid blokes up front who, you know, dumb as dog shit, to be fair. When you're talking about backs and forwards, blokes up front, was going on. We knew how to control them, and we created a model that was largely successful, really, for a long period of time.
He's grabbing a knife, by the way. See that?
Those late 90s in rugby, it was the golden era of Australian rugby. You know, for a couple of reasons. One, you know, we developed leading into the Sydney Olympics, and largely sport in this country during that period of time, there was a great influence and a great amount of money that got invested off the back of the Olympics.
Yep.
All sports benefited from that, whether it was cricket, you know, all sports benefited. Yep. And we had a fantastic period of time. Rugby was a beneficiary of a lot of that investment in sport, and we were able to take the game forward and you know, win, you know, do things that we were, you know, probably in years gone by not nearly as consistent in doing.
Mate, surely. I reckon our best export is sport.
It is.
We're the most successful for the
if you
look per capita that we are.
It was.
You're right.
It was.
And AIS programs and all sorts of those things.
If you look at Australia's history, we do three things well. We pull shit out of the ground in mining. We grow shit well on top of it.
Sure.
And then we play sport, right? And I think if you look in recent times, well, where the agriculture's going, and then you look at the mining side, it's a bit of a downturn. Sport's where it's at.
Yeah, it is. Well, and the issue we've got is that the rest of the world
caught up to us.
We jumped ahead very quickly on the back of some really good sports science knowledge. So, Kafe, you were right in the mix there with the sports. What was it called? Canberra Sports Idiot Society. Because you used to wear your tracksuit around everywhere. What was that nerd tracksuit zipped up? He came to my 21st.
ACT Academy of Sport.
That's it.
That was,
That's why I didn't know about it. It was the ACT.
Yeah, correct.
But, we jumped ahead because everyone else, rugby particularly, professionalism arrived. All of a sudden, everyone had a bit of money to spend on the bar tab.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And everyone trained a lot more.
Yep.
They didn't really know what to do, right? What do we do now? We've got 18 more hours a week available. Whereas Australia kind of knew what to do pretty quickly. Dietitians, strength programs, somatotype testing for people who are going to come in or out of the program on the back of AIS programs leading into the Olympics. Kafe's point about rowers and identifying netballers and basketballers and all those sorts of things. I mean, it still remains a mystery to me. I don't know about you, but Kafe, certainly not. If we'd have been somatotype tested back then, there's no way they'd have recommended. No, you're probably dwarf throwing or something.
You talk about dietitians. Well, one of the new sponsors on Lunch with Lee is Manshake.
Yeah, right.
Manshake. So I'm going to be taking the Manshake challenge now. Albeit I'm about to get on a plane in about 2 weeks' time.
What is the challenge? What is it?
Well, I'm going to try and lose some weight, and I think I eat too much. Drink too much. Yeah.
How do you do it?
Well, I'm going to use
shakes.
Just take Manshakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's proving it works.
Is that it?
I've seen it work. I know other people obviously have done it as well.
Is it the Manshake that works, or the fact that you're no longer eating or drinking and no longer sociable and living in a cave?
Well, I think I still want to be sociable, but I think it's about planning and replacing meals when you can. Well known, Adam McDougall, the former rugby league player, started the business. It's been very, very successful, and there's been a lot of very, very positive outcomes. So I'm going to give it a go, mate.
Good on you.
Maybe you should too, Kafe.
Mate, you lost a lot of weight, though. You were like a big pregnant eel. You were
big and fat. Heart surgery will do that too.
Have you had heart surgery?
I did have heart surgery.
Open heart surgery.
What happened there?
Well, I had a stroke, Shane.
I should have
last year about this. Early last year, I had a stroke. Found a congenital hole in my heart, 2 centimetre hole in my heart, faulty wall, and it took me down for a little while.
Honestly, when they went in
hard.
and they found the heart was this big.
So this is
where's the
this
hole?
Is the thing. This is the thing, right? And so I said, this is pretty punchy. I'd have. Come on, mate. It's not that funny.
It was pretty.
I sit down to tell these blokes like this because it's pretty punchy. We had to head into this heart surgery stuff. They're going to open me up, and doctor says, mate, you should do a will. So that's not great when the surgeon says that. Yeah. And have you got a current one? Have you told me? So I'd go the round and grounds. I get my crew of 3 good mates. 2 blow-ins. Kafe's don't know how he got to start. I get the call. Said, boys, I've found this hole in my heart. I'm going to have to go. There's a chance. I'm not coming out of it, but anyway, just letting you know. They all ponder on it for about 5 seconds, and then Kafe goes, "Wow, that answers it." Then we've always thought you were half-hearted. That's it. That was his reassurance.
Only teammates can do.
And then it started.
Yeah.
It was.
Are you okay now? Where are you at now?
No, I'm all right now. They fixed it like a grease and oil change, really. Okay. Mechanical repair, which was niggle at the time. They opened me up here, had a robot-assisted Da Vinci robot-assisted atrial defect repair. So they opened the right side of my chest, dug in under, deflated my lung, collapsed my lung, went across, stitched and repaired.
Did anything run in the family? Is it heart conditions?
No, congenital. No, it's not a hereditary issue. Yeah. It was pretty scary. I was licorice in the right arm and right leg for a while. My speech wasn't great, but we're good now. But if all you people listening, however many, just get a checkup.
Mate, I've been saying that for a while. After particularly Shane Warne, the one thing that came out of Warnie's death was that people get their hearts checked.
Yeah,
so
I know
Brett and our whole family did.
Yeah.
So if you haven't had it done, go and get it checked because it's. I've had 2 mates that have actually. One guy I've known through another good mate. He went in and had open heart surgery only 2 days later.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He had pretty much most of his arteries blocked,
Mate, the surgeon said to me...
He's only 42.
I can't understand how you played and done all that stuff. I said, mate, I can't either. But actually, on the field was probably the safest place through my whole life, given what I've done. What do you mean? I said, well, mate, there's a clip here of me getting tasered voluntarily in South Africa on tour. So you tell me whether being on the field.
Very funny. One of the funniest clips you'll ever see. Oh, God.
Yeah, tasered.
We won't put that up on
peer group.
the podcast.
Well, that's the peer group pressure, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting around on tour. We're about to play paintball. It's taking ages, right? One of the team building things. Go and have fun. Paintball. And I hear a bit of a conversation happening, and someone says to me, Matt Giddo actually says to me, "Good, would you get tasered?" And I thought it was just one of those, role play questions. And I'm thinking, right, a chance to be a hard man. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah, I'd get tasered. Back to my dirt. Quandaries and then all this. Oh, good, no problem. There's the energy's up. The energy's up in the group. I'm thinking, what's going on here? So the South African security guard is on tour with us. Goes, yeah, okay, no problem. And he pulls out his taser gun. And I'm like, mate, what are you doing? He said, yeah, I'm going to taser you. And I said, no. That's you've got, so everyone's got their iPhones out. Now I've got to go through with it, right? So then we go. So there's a whole checklist.
Before you had to hold the heart.
Yeah. It's the whole heart's punching away, right? So I'm like, okay, how good a shot is he? Right, so I can't be front on because I had visions of him harpooning me in the eyes. One of those harpoon ones, right? If he misses and blinds me, I survive the thing, but I'm blinded, right? I'm burnt. And so then I'm like, okay, no problem. So you can shoot me in the gluteal or sort of lower back, probably the safest.
Sure.
Then I go to the doctor. I say, Doc, am I going to have a heart attack here? And he said, well, I don't know. Have you got a history in your family? I said, well, mate, my family's never been tasered before, so I don't know. Like, can you give me a bit of help here? Right? So then I go to the third, which is probably the most, right? I said, look, am I going to lose control of my body, right? Am I going to shit myself? And he said, well, mate, there's a chance. Who knows? So then, but you're going to be incapacitated, he said. He's going to lasso you. So, right, okay. Then I'm thinking, okay, he's going to shoot me in the back. I'm probably going to pitch forward. So now I don't want to drive the teeth through the front of my face if I just face plant into this hard deck, right? So I have Stephen Larkham and Celeste Mafu to hold my arms while this bloke, so he's about 2 metres behind me, and he goes, are you ready? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. And we had a deal. We said, like, 10 seconds. You can zap me for 10 seconds and turn it off, right? So 1, 3, 2, 1. And I'm like, I'm down. The oak tree's straight down. Bernie lets me go. Steve Larkham. Bernie lets me go. Celeste Mafu's fingernail Peterson. I hit the deck at warp speed. Jesus. Don't hit my face. Bernie later on investigation and extreme interrogation from me, like, why'd you let me go? Thanks for your. He said, mate, I thought the electric thing was going to pass through me. I said, mate, you're not a fucking steel rod, mate. It's not going to pass through you. It's not a lightning strike. So then I'm on the ground. And then he hits me again on the ground.
They got you again.
Yeah, so...
How's it?
So when I... So when I explained to my heart surgeon... Listen, mate, this is the sort of person I was off the field. He's like, yeah, I get it. Okay, no problem. We're glad it didn't happen over there.
Jesus Christ.
Taser. Don't get tasered.
Speaking about being tasered, we're going to do Coach and Eddie Jones. How's he going to go with the boys?
The cattle prod.
That's right.
One thing about... There are... In every sport, in any profession and in every sport, there's a few people who are always at the top of their game.
Yep.
And we know there are great coaches. Wherever they turn up, they find a way to make teams better. Eddie, lots of people in Australia won't necessarily recognise all of the things that Eddie's done throughout his career. He was the...
So you're a big fan, Rod?
He's a mate of mine. I'm a big fan.
Yep.
He's the best coach I ever had. Coached me for 5 years in the book as well. He was the last Wallaby coach to win the Bledisloe Cup.
Yep.
Last Wallaby coach to win the Tri-Nations. Google claim he had something to do with that.
Is that pre or post taser?
You're welcome. Took post taser. Pre.
Took the Wallabies... Good, lost us this game, but took the Wallabies to the 2003 Rugby World Cup final. If Cook hadn't missed the tackle, it would be okay, but lost that. Then
how was it watching from row 4?
Yeah, it was good. Then went to South Africa and won a World Cup as the real head coach of the Springboks. Then took Japan to at this
the greatest upset in World Cup history.
Upset in World Cup history. in 2015, took Japan for the first time to the quarterfinals, then took England and was the most successful coach ever with England. This is a guy, everywhere he's gone, at an international level, he's been successful. He's always wanted to come back and coach the Wallabies. He feels like, you know, unfinished business. He's that, and he is singularly his greatest strength as a coach is that he has the ability to find the things in each player that they need to get better. He's going to do one of two things. He's going to challenge you so much that you're either going to get better or you're going to get out of there. And it's one or the other.
Well, at least you eliminate the weaknesses straight away.
Gets rid of them. Yeah. And that's the thing. And you either love Eddie because he had that ability to get the best out of you, or you hate him.
You're going to fight it.
Because he never did.
And maybe they deserve to be there anyway.
And you know coaches like that. It's the same in every sport. He's the best in the business. He's in the top 2 or 3 coaches at any stage in the world ever in rugby. He's always been in that bracket. It's great to have him back for the Wallabies. He'll do a good job. We've got a team in the world who's 7th in the world at the moment. 7th.
Jesus. It's too low for the Wallabies.
Our opportunity is can we get ourselves from time to time into being 2nd or 3rd best and then occasionally be the best. That's going to be his challenge.
I was going to say, Goog, talking about challenging people, what happened to when you're overseas, you're playing overseas and you used to get a bit of sledging over there? And was there a few times where they took umbrage to it?
That's a difficult question to answer.
Which incident are you referring to?
I can talk you through half a dozen of them.
The magnitude of incidences. I could probably get one that's quite notable is Ulster v Toulouse, Trevor Brennan incident. So I'll give you the quick one. So Ulster v, we're playing the Heineken Cup. I'm playing for Ulster at Ravenhill. Toulouse come over. Trevor Brennan's an Irish bloke. He's the bloke that Todd Kefu one-dotted his face off in '99, right? Punched his nose around his head about 14 times and spread it across it. And then so we're playing this game. I'm having a bit of a ding-dong with him. It's pretty cool, right? Because back you could lay a few in off the ball. So we're going 1-1. 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, righto, he's worn one on me late and the game's finished. So uneven ledger, right? So I'm thinking, right, return leg. We get to France in Toulouse just before Christmas. He's on the bench. He comes off the bench, first breakdown, whack, right in his button. Yeah. And I said, that's from Keth and 4-all, right? And he gets up and he's Red Miss Peterson straight into me. He's like, trying to bite me ear and hugging me, just windmilling towards him. I'm thinking, Jesus, that's a proper reaction there. And so take him down. We wrestle on the ground a bit and he's in my ear going, where are you? After the game, I'm going to behind proper old school stuff, right? See you at the bus stop,
Gotcha.
I'll see you behind the stand, in this Irish thing, our accent. And then so we get up and the referee red cards him for that. And I don't get carded because he didn't see me lay in the sweet spot. Anyway, so I position myself between where he's getting sent off and the jog to the thing, and I lay a few F-bombs on him, right? He still haven't effing told me where we're effing going after the game, you Irish rat. Right? Ref hears me. Yeah. Right, you're yellow carded, unsportsmanlike language. I'm like, mate, if you know the game of rugby, what part of it is sportsmanlike? Anyway, so I'm close enough to him, so I grab him like we're into it. I was just bugging, might as well just climb into it now. So we're stinking each other, and the crowd are going nuts, right? This Ulster, Justy Harrison, you're our man, after the game, the separation, after the game, thanks for sticking up for us, mate, this is amazing. So it turns out, during the warm-up, when Trevor Brennan's about to get sent on by Guy Noves, the French coach, to come in for me to one-dot him and 4-all it, and then all that stuff happens, he's heard something from the crowd, from the Ulster crowd, that said something about his pub or whatever, his family or something, just a bit of niggle banter.
Yeah, just made him up,
So Trevor Brennan jumped the fence, 3 rows back, 6 seats in, lassoed this bloke with his left hook, broke his jaw, and then Red Miss Peterson gets back down over the field. Guy Noves goes, Trevor, you're on. So Harrison's thinking, right, here's my chance for Trevor. Trevor's coming on, just about killed this bloke in row 4, and I'm whack. And so then he's coming, and then Ulster crowd think that I've seen that. So they're like, yeah, Justy Harrison's sticking up for us. No, there you go. There's a short one.
But I'll tell you what, there's a few games I played where I want to jump the fence and punch the guy in the crowd as well. Hey, I ask everyone who comes on lunch, I'll ask you first, Rod. A young boy or girl wants to go into the professional world and play rugby. What advice would you give them?
He's got a couple of kids that he's given advice to now if they listen to him.
Yeah.
Look, from a sporting perspective, the thing that from the way I thought about how to get better is that every single day I wanted to find a way to make myself just a tiny bit better. And then over the accumulation of time, you can turn yourself from being an average player, an average athlete, into a decent enough athlete to be professional. So my thing was always, every single time I went out to train or play, I wanted to find a way to get just a tiny bit better. Knowing that every time that I did, if I continued to do that, the cumulative, the compounding effect of that would see me get better. And that's the thing I have told people before, which I know that's my greatest piece of advice.
And Justin, what advice would you give me?
I'd go right back to my dad told me that I should join the rugby union team because I might see the world. That was the back of his advice.
He's right.
And secondly, I would tell them that rugby's going to be a great addition to your life, but don't let it define you. You've got to have lots of other things happening alongside that are going to contribute to your aspirational achievements on the field. And ultimately, it's going to be one person's decision that's going to pull you through different doorways. You just got to make sure you're ready for those opportunities. And that speaks to Kafe about opportunity improvement, putting yourself in front of challenging moments and reacting to extreme disappointment bravely, and celebrating high achievement with all of the people around you and recognising their contribution to that. So, that's a long sentence for a 10-year-old, because I've got a 10-year-old now who thinks he's going to be, the next... who's his favourite? Bruce Hodges is his favourite player. So, all that stuff. So
there's all of those wonderful...
There's all that stuff,
there's all those wonderful...
motherhood statements, but...
ethereal things that Justin actually said. What really happened for Gook is he turned up to Lismore Uni... And he never played rugby before.
Listen to Kafe rewrite history.
This is absolutely true. Yeah. And he looked around
as a 19-year-old, 6'7", 92 kilo praying mantis.
And he looked around at the various different university sports that he could play. Yeah. And he went through all of his basketball team. And there was these other ones. And then there was the rugby club, and they had come to the rugby club, free kick a beer tomorrow night. And he said, "That's the group I'm signing for." That's true.
I want to finish on...
Wasn't a keg each.
I want to finish on two things, but the one story you told me...
Go you gold rats.
When we were away, one of your sons... Got to mention the best party on the North Shore. When you were away, what happened there?
Well,
talented boy.
Well, yeah, I've got talent in my family.
This is improving everything you do every minute.
My wife and I went away, as you do, for a weekend. The kids, my middle son, eldest was, let's call him 16, 17. My youngest, my middle boy, 14, 15. Daughter, whatever she is, 12. And we go away for the weekend. We go up to Lennox Head for the weekend. My wife and I leave the kids at home for the first time. We think, right, they're old enough now to stay at home. Eldest boy's 16, 17. No problems. My middle son, of course, then immediately organises the party. And we'd watched together the movie Project X not long before that. For anybody who's seen the Project X, with this great party based on Corey Worthington back in the day, as you remember, with the sunglasses on. Anyway, my wife and I get away with Saturday afternoon, and I know full well that my young bloke's going to organise a party.
You're hoping, by the way. So if he's listening to anything I've said,
mate, let's get amongst it.
Now's your chance, mate.
Let's get amongst it. And sure enough, I do the video call with him just to check that there's nobody there. He's got 50 people who are, as he's walking around like this, there's all these people moving.
People just moving.
Nothing going on here,
Dad. Be quiet, Dad's on the phone.
Anyway, of course, we come home, and I'm immediately walking up the front steps of my house, and my feet are sticking to the stairs as I come up there, as the bourbon and coke is just coming off my shirt.
On the front lawn.
And I literally lick my finger, wipe it on the thing, and I just go, that's bourbon. I know that taste well.
I've been to the private bin.
Yeah, exactly. It was like bin sludge for all those Canberra people. We come back into the house, and there are bottles, and there's things broken everywhere. There's stuff on the roof. It is just absolute mayhem. I say to the kids, what's going on? I immediately interrogate all of them. They all break down and tell us, we had a wild and crazy party. Anyway, my wife, we're all upset, and it's horrible, and it's all that sort of stuff. We're then driving in the car the next day, and it's still it was a bit tense. Yeah. We had some funny times with that. In fact, one of the funniest things was my wife, that the kids had actually thrown Corona bottles into the pool of the people next door to us, and there's all this. We can see looking over the fence that there's all this broken bottles there. My wife, I think she told you the story. Yeah. She has thought, right, during the day, I'll go and get him out.
Stealth mission.
Stealth mission. She put the swimmers on
like
the
some
goggles
sort of
on
Navy SEAL, neighbourhood Navy SEAL.
Yeah, knocked on the door, and our neighbours were a Chinese couple, knocked on the door thinking nobody was home, and the husband opens the door, she's there in a Speedos with a towel wrapped around a snorkel and a thing, just going, I'm just going to jump in your pool and get him out.
To clean your pool up.
She's
No
like,
need, no need,
just
no
like
need.
Jacques Cousteau, ready to,
Anyway,
take on the deeps.
We're heading wherever we are heading out there. My son says to me, after everything's said and done, said, Dad, look, just want you to know there is an Instagram page.
Yes.
Who have nominated
Unanimous.
called North Shore Parties, and they've
Nominated
nominated us for best party of the year.
So kids, you got to do something, do it properly.
We're in final three.
And I'm like this one.
Yeah.
Well done, son.
Well done. Just to finish, a crystal ball. Who's going to win the Rugby World Cup this year?
Oh, that's a tough one. But I will preface it. There's a lot of competition. This is the most even, if you can say that, World Cup long time. Ireland. Genuine world number one. World number one. Not just, beat New Zealand in Chicago and jumped up 2 places and it's fool's gold. Consistently playing some of the best rugby in the world. Scotland even the dark horses. New Zealand on the downward spot. It's not going to be New Zealand, I don't think.
Okay.
I think I'd love to think it's going to be Australia Beaver just because I'm blind faith in him. I think if anyone can do it, it's him. I've got to have them as a smoky. But probably South Africa, the way they play, power game, everything about World Cups is what South Africa are all about.
Yep.
And then France, home nation. So France, Australia, South
Easy,
Africa,
right?
that's not a pick, but
No,
give you that.
I'm very similar. I think France will have home team that they're emotional and they've been good. They prepared. They went to the last World Cup, got rid of a lot of old blokes, picked a very young side so they had World Cup experience, knowing that in 4 years' time they were taking a group of 20, 21, 22-year-olds into their prime to the next World Cup. So they've had some decent preparation, the French. And again, World Cups are unique in rugby that you've got to have 7 weeks of back-to-back tests. So the teams that survive are typically the toughest teams, the guys who can survive. That's why South Africa have won more World Cups than anybody else, because physically and mentally they can deal with it. They can deal with it. On a tough side of the draw, Australia's got an easier side to their draw. I don't think Australia will win, absolutely not. However, I think it's going to come from South Africa, New Zealand, the French, maybe Ireland. I think we'll find a way to probably get through into the semi-finals, and then anything's possible.
Well, I thank you both for coming on Lunch with Lee. It was great to catch up down at Gregan's. This is what I'm calling the last supper because I start the Men's Shake Challenge tomorrow. But thanks,
we'll
boys.
eat up with you, mate.
Let's have a nice lunch, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks
Rod.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Justin. Good on you, mate.
Thanks,
Cheers.
mate.
That's it for Lunch with Lee this week. A big thank you goes out to our guests, Justin Harrison and Rod Kafer. Thanks to the Morrison Hotel for an unbelievable lunch here in the city, Rod, based on George Street. It's a fantastic lunch. You've got to come in. The oysters and the steak, out of control. So thanks to them. But make sure you hit follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. And do us a favour, hit 5 stars. If you're there and passionate, please leave a review. And come check us out on Instagram at I'm at Lunch with Lee. Our official Lunch with Lee photography was done by Felicity Kelly. You can find her on Instagram at Felicity Kelly Portraits. And once again, thanks to our producer, Dan McHugh. We'll be back next time to talk to some more legends about sport, music and business on another cracking episode of Lunch with Lee. We'll see you then.
This podcast was made by Afternoon Sport Group.